piece of Egyptian art is titled The Seated Scribe. It is, in terms of form, pretty symmetrical. If you put a line through the middle here of the front, you would see that each side is fairly similar. It is a frontal piece, sculpture. Although you can view it from the back, it is intended to be seen from the front. It is made of limestone, so that gray white rock you see showing here has been painted initially with some red paint, and that paint is worn off over time. That's why we see the limestone showing through. He has, in terms of form, black hair, and he has nipples that are made of wood. There's more to say about form here. We'll get even more in depth here, especially when we look at his eyes. The eyes are pretty magnificent. They are made of a white magnesite and rock crystal. So the whites of his eyes are from this product right here. And behind the crystal that makes his iris is some organic material. I don't know that they know what. I don't know that they've taken it apart enough to know. And so it's just titled organic material. And that's what allows us to get the blue of the iris. And then there are copper clips holding the eye pieces in place on each side. And then again, we saw from the palette of King Narmer just the importance of the eyeliner. And so we see here that he's got kind of a green bluish eyeliner. In terms of function, he, as a seated scribe, was an important part of Egyptian government. And so it's no surprise that someone who is a really high official or a pharaoh might want to take into their tomb to the next life the scribe, and take the personal scribe, because they don't live forever. You take the statue of a scribe that will come to life and can be used for you in the next life. Scribes are essential because they are going to be documenting tax collecting. They're going to be documenting crops that people have grown and that are stored, trade with other countries. Like Egypt would have traded with Mesopotamia. They would have traded with the Kush Empire to the south. They would have probably been trading in the Indian Ocean with India at the time. And they're engaged in war with people from all over the Mediterranean. And then there would have been communication that the scribes would have initiated between rulers and between the Egyptian kings and their subjects. So a scribe is essential for government. So essential that in the Louvre in Paris, where our seated scribe is held, here he is in this protected box. There are other seated scribes, at least one other. And so here is that one other, for sure, seated scribe shown in Paris in the Louvre. So not an uncommon object to have in your tomb. Then in terms of content, which kind of borders on form, we see that he is seated. He is not in a chair. Now, if you're a pharaoh or a really high official, you would have a chair. You'd be not on the ground. He is realistic or natural. This is not a, what is that modern form called? Abstract. Instead, he is shown as aging. And we see that aging, which I can relate to with that fat rolls, around his stomach. So he is not in perfect form like pharaohs are shown in art. He is also, in terms of content, shown here writing. Now, this roll of papyrus that we see here would have been accompanied, of course, by some writing utensil, and that has since been missing. But that is all the content of the seated scribe. Context for him is that he was found in a burial site in Saqqara, south of Cairo, where there are lots of burial sites on the west side of the Nile River. And he is found in a necropolis. Polis stands for city, and necro, I think, stands for death. And so it's a city of death, city of dying, city of burial. So that is common in the Mediterranean region. We're going to see that also in Egypt and Roman Empire and the Etruscan Empire, that necropolises are where the dead are placed. Now, what's little less clear, because the archaeologist who unearthed him did not have a great recording system, uh, is which exact tomb was he entombed in. We think that he may have been in a tomb for a high government official whose name was Kai, but we're not for sure on that. Okay, that is the context, content, form, and function of the seated scribe.